You're watching the Daily Roundup, People's Dispatch's selection of some of the top stories from around the world coming to you from our studios in New Delhi. Let's first take a look at today's headlines. Russia and Ukraine sign an agreement on export of food grains. Shipyard workers in South Korea have ended a long-standing strike. And from Brazil, a report on the impact of climate change and development policies on natural disasters. First up, after months of global grain shortages, Ukraine and Russia have signed mirror agreements which allow Kiev to resume exports of grain through the Black Sea and also facilitate the movement of and payment for Russian wheat, which, although not under direct Western sanctions, have been impacted by restrictions on banking, insurance, as well as other sectors. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called it a beacon of hope for millions of hungry people who have faced huge increases in the price of food over the recent months. The agreement will allow grain currently stuck in Ukraine because of the war to move to its final destination, hopefully easing global food prices and helping millions stave off the risk of imminent hunger. Russia and Ukraine together produce 30% of the world's wheat, and as we've reported before, several large nations, including Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, and others, import more than a quarter of their wheat requirements from these two countries. The Red Cross's Director General, Robert Mardini, noted to reporters that over just the past 6 months, the prices of food in countries such as Sudan, Yemen, and Syria have gone up as much as 180%. Both sides attended the signing ceremony in Istanbul on Friday but did not sit at the same table. Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu signed Moscow's deal first, followed by Ukrainian Infrastructure Minister Alexander Kubrakov. According to observers and commentators, this bit of diplomatic breakdancing was indicative that the world should not look at the grain deal as a sign of any longer-lasting peace or even steps in that direction. As things stand, there is no attempt towards dialogue or building a peace process that might end in a resolution to this conflict. Just a day after the deal was signed, Ukraine reported missile attacks near the Black Sea port of Odessa, and sections of the Western media began clamoring for extending Western sanctions to also cover Russia's wheat exports. This highlights the uncertainty that clouds not just the grain export deal, but the region and the wider world. After over 5 weeks of striking, shipyard workers in South Korea have decided to end their action after winning key concessions in a tentative agreement. On Friday, the 23rd of July, union officials and subcontractors at the Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, or DSME, announced that a tentative deal agreeing to a 4.5% wage increase has been met. This is much lower than the union's demand, of course, of 30%. But as per reports, the Korea Metal Workers Union, that's representing striking workers, has secured concessions that provide job guarantees for workers who are set to face job losses as subcontractors. DSME, South Korea's third largest shipbuilding company, and has reportedly faced losses to the tune of 32 billion won daily during the strike. That's about 25 million US dollars. Despite union officials reporting that over 90% of striking workers are expected to support the tentative agreement, workers have reported being disappointed with the deal. Apart from the wage hike and job guarantees, union officials are also demanding the company drop its threats of prosecution against organizers and strikers for their 5-week-long sit-in at the DSME shipyard. The latest deal does not make any such guarantees. Since late last month, 150 workers, including those hired as subcontractors operating at the DSME shipyard, have been on strike over poor wages and the lack of job security. The strike caught national attention, with the KMWU organizing a day-long general strike on the 20th of July, along with demonstrations and rallies in various parts of South Korea in solidarity with the shipyard workers. Approximately 5,000 workers participated in the strike. But the strikers were faced with massive hostility, both by DSME and the recently elected conservative government of President Yoon Suk Yeol. Earlier this week, after nearly 50 days of the strike, the president and officials of his administration admonished them as being illegal and threatened legal action against the strikers themselves. The president also stated that the union's activities should not be left unattended or tolerated. Our final piece for this week is from the Brazilian state of Pernambuco, which witnessed major suffering because of rain and heavy flooding. Scientists have been studying the impact of climate change on these disasters, as well as the impact of certain developmental policies being followed by the government. We bring you this video from Brazil de Fato. That's all we have on this episode of the Daily Roundup. For more details on these stories, as always, please do head over to our website, peoplesdispatch.org, and give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.